right, welcome to Lunch Therapy. This is Interview Friday. Lunch Therapy is a show that goes on Tuesdays and Fridays at noon. On Fridays, we interview interesting guests. We've got an incredible guest today. We've got Adrian Saint. He is a mentalist. So I'm so excited to have a mentalist on the show. I've been wanting to have him on the show for a while now, so I'm just really fortunate to delve into the mind of a mentalist. Today, we also have the announcement of the first live Lunch Therapy show, which is happening on December 6th, 2024 in Hollywood at the Yard Theater, which is on Melrose, and it's going to star guests of Lunch Therapy, Gayla Johnson, Eric Davis, also known as the Red Bastard. He's going to be doing some stand-up and audience participation. It's going to be a little like Lunch Therapy and a little like total chaos and mayhem. So come on down. Tickets are $20. If you use the coupon code hummingbird, you get $5 off. So what more could we give here at Lunch Therapy? Howard Ronan, can I sit next to Kamala in the show? I believe that you can, but you'll have to ask her. I think that Boney might be at the show, who you've seen on the show, my assistant. And then also Joe Fury, I think, is making an appearance as well. Kamala says yes. Great to hear it. Hummingbirds abound. Flock to the Yard Theater on December 6th. Unless I'm in disguise handing out flyers on stilts. Who knows? Let's get into this thing called Lunch Therapy. I'm gonna get myself a modem. 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 All right, it's Interview Friday. We're going to start the show. We're going to take 3 deep breaths like we do on every episode of this show. Why do we do it? Calm our nerves, get our blood flowing, get our, endocrine system moving. I don't know, something. But we know it's good for us to breathe. And you should breathe multiple times during the day, not just now, but you should be breathing kind of on a regular basis, I think. Otherwise, you fall over and die. So just so you know. I don't like to give out medical advice on the show, but I think breathing is really good. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. And let it go. It is my brother's birthday today, so I want to say happy birthday to Dave Marshall out there, November 22nd. Congratulations on another birthday. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Behind me is healing vibrations. They're spraying some things into the air for us to breathe. Hopefully they are good for us. It looks like they are. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. And let it go. All right. Feeling good now. Want to take this opportunity to thank the Patreons. So grateful to have these people being Patreons of the show. Mike Knox, Todd Lee, Kamala Lopez, Liz Lopez, Robert Lopez, got the Lopez contingency, got Jay Patterson, Pam Palmieri, Neil Phillip, Seth Word. Just go to patreon.com/Joel Marshall. Also Jason Edelman and Mary Marks. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you want to support the show, you can drop however many dollars you want in the patreon.com jar. It just really helps us get the word out about the show. And these amazing production values, of course. Of course. So, and also it helps us get guests. So today we're going to get to the guest. It's Interview Friday. So excited about this. I have today Adrian Saint. Adrian Saint is a mentalist. And, you know, some of us out there are just mental, but he is a mentalist. And he and his twin brother, John, have the Saint twins, the twin sensory perception. They do this together, but Adrian performs on his own as well. He's known for his energetic and unique presentation of mental abilities, persuasion, telepathy. And he has captivated audiences all across California and North America at colleges, corporations, private events, such as UC Davis, Washington State University, Go Cougars, Loyola Marymount University, MTV, Pasadena Tournament of Roses, U.S. Bank, Knott's Berry Farm, Chase, 7-Eleven, Pacific Life Insurance, and more. You know, a lot of us are performers out there, and we don't realize there's this corporate circuit that we can go on that is just, you really got to be good. But you can make good money performing for these companies, and looks like Adrian's doing that. From a young age, Adrian has been fascinated by the human mind and its mysteries. We're going to delve into his mind, find out why, what made him do this. But he's delved in psychology, magic, hypnosis, and he has these incredible skills that he's developed. He was in an MTV documentary, and his goal is to leave every audience entertained and mystified with his clean, fun, and unforgettable shows. Here are some testimonials coming your way, but let's get into this thing. Interview Friday.
Absolutely loved the show. 10 out of 10. Would hire him again. Every single person here was blown away. Awesome tricks. Awesome guy. Great presentation. Like I said, 10 out of 10. Would hire again.
Hi, we love the show at Heritage Palms. It was awesome. Thank you so much.
I just saw the Saint twins at the Lakes Country Club, and we had the best evening. And I do not know how they do what they do. They blew my mind as well as they read my mind.
All right. Welcome to Lunch Therapy, Adrian Saint.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Joe.
It's great having you on. You have been mystifying me with your performances. I've been watching them on your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
How did you get involved in mentalism? Were you one of these people when you were a kid that was like always trying to guess people's thoughts?
No, I guess, my introduction to this started kind of at a later age when I was in my late teens, 17, 18. Most people who do what I do started off with magic, and they started at a very early age. I didn't start off at a very early age. I kind of got into magic as kind of like intrigued by watching David Blaine in my late teens, and seeing his early specials on TV back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I, wanted to learn basic magic. And, I got really into it around age 18, 17. And then when I went into college in my 20s, I met someone who's like, well, let me show you another side of magic that's more of the mind. It's not like sleight of hand. It's more persuasion, and it's more understanding human behavior, and, taking advantage of little quirks people do that, most people overlook. So that's what I kind of started learning. The mind reading mentalism of my twin in my early 20s. So now, I'm 42, so it's almost been like 20 years later. And that's pretty much, I kind of put aside the magic stuff. I, have a background in magic, but most of my performances now are involved in the mind reading type.
Where did you grow up? Was it in Michigan, or did you grow up here?
So I was born in Iran, and I moved to the U.S. when I was 6 to Michigan. Lived there for about 3 years, and in 1992 moved to Orange County, and I grew up in Orange County in San Clemente, and went to high school there, and then went up to college at UC Davis, and then after college moved back down to Orange County, and pretty much have lived in Orange County, South Orange County, for the majority of my life.
How do you practice mentalism when you're just starting out? You know how like when you're practicing
Right.
magic and you're like, I want to show you a trick, and people are like, oh God, I don't want to see it. What, you mean
There's
pick a
a couple
card?
ways to practice it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the most first thing is friends and family, but that gets really old, quick.
Yeah.
But the other way, the way I would practice it back when I was starting out, is I would like do a magic trick, and then and like for example, like do a card trick, for example, and then I would be like, okay, let me try something I'm working on. Let's put the cards away, and I'll just have you think of a card. Just think of any card, don't say it, and I would try to guess it, and I would try to see how close I would get. Or one other way to practice it will be just in everyday situations, especially when I was in college at
Yeah.
parties, to go up to people and be like, hey, can I try something with you? I'm studying psychology. Like, I want to try something with you. May not work. And you would just kind of go off the cuff and,
Wow.
be in social situations and test it out and see what it works. Because you're right. You can't really practice it on yourself.
By yourself.
You
Yeah.
can't really practice it on people that may know you that well, because they may lie to you or try to make you feel good and say, yeah, that's all right, but it's not the right response you're looking for. So it's kind of trial and error. You just go out there, kind of the same thing with practice hypnosis. How do you practice hypnosis and
Yeah.
hypnotize someone? You have to go out there and do it and fail a lot of times, and then over time you get really good at it, and then you start seeing patterns, and then you feel comfortable trying it on people.
Are hypnosis and mentalism, are they related? Do you use?
They're
do you-
like, I would say, like cousins.
Mhm.
Like there's elements of hypnosis in mentalism performances, and some of it in hypnosis, but they're completely different. Because one of them just requires a different skill sets, but a lot of mentalists and a lot of hypnotists kind of have a good foundation background in both. I have a lot of friends who are very good stage hypnotists, and also hypnotherapists that have a background in what I do, and I have them teach me some stuff. But it's completely two different types of, I would say, entertainment. But they have a foundation that's kind of based in the same.
Wow. Okay. Now you say that you began trying to guess what people were thinking or what a card was. You were really like practicing actual mentalism. Like it's not. Yeah.
You basically would understand, like, try to use psychology and understand what people are going to do and think before they do it. And that's really the only way to practice it. So you start seeing patterns in people. So for example, when you have people think of a card, you're going to feel like most people, based on like, gender or demographic, will go towards a certain card, and you kind of use that information to kind of see if you can get inside your head and use information for your benefit on stage. The difference between, I guess, a magic show and a mentalism show is that when you go see a magic show, for example, at the Magic Castle or anywhere, and you see somebody like get cut in half or do something like levitation or whatever, no matter how amazing it is, that, it's going to work every time, especially like cutting somebody in half. The person's not really cut in half, no matter how amazing the illusion is.
Yeah.
With mentalism, you're working with people on stage with very little props, and it's all based on instructions. So there's a chance that what you're doing may not work, and you may fail in front of a lot of people, which I have a lot, quite a few times in my life, where you give an instruction to do something and they're not being responsive, or they don't want to follow your instructions, or
they don't listen, or they don't listen, right? Yeah.
Language has a lot to do with mentalism. So the words you use and the emphasis on words, if they don't pick it up on the psychology, sometimes what you're trying to get across, they may just completely, miscue the entire demonstration. So, when I do events, I tell people, look, that's not an exact science. We're going to work together. I'm going to try to incorporate as many people as possible in the next hour or 30 minutes. And some of this may not work. I'm not saying that just to be honest. I'm just saying different experience because I'm working with people. But I have a pretty good success rate now if I'm doing a show that the stuff that I've done over and over again so many times over the last decade plus that I feel confident that it's going to work with a high probability rate. So
it's incredible. It's sort of like being a comedian.
Yeah, you have to know your audience. Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of friends who are comics. I have a lot of friends like in the comedy world, who performers are also, comedy writers, and we talk a lot. And yeah, it's definitely a lot like being a comedian. I honestly feel like being a comedian is a lot harder than being a mentalist.
Really?
Because being a comedian, I think you have to be a little bit more on your toes. It's different in mentalism. I have friends who are comics and mentalists, and they have that background that gives them an advantage. But most people know what a comedian does. A comedian is when you go see a comedy show, you're there to laugh and you're down there to enjoy it. But when you see a show like mine, yes, I'm entertaining you, but at the back of your mind, you're like, how the heck is he doing this? And you're trying to figure it out. And some people don't want to have that experience. They want to just not think and be entertained. And sometimes some people get frustrated, as you saw. Some people are amazed by it with the testimonial. So there's a different entertainment experience when you go see a comedian or a singer, because what the joke is or how nice it is, that punchline was put together, but you're not trying to dissect it and figure it out.
Well, it's almost like sometimes you're bringing a heckler on stage.
Yeah.
Does that, because I noticed that sometimes when you're performing, there's somebody who's trying to kind of outwit you.
Yeah. And that's something you have to learn over time of what, how to pick your participants and how to pick people on stage or what to look for. That just takes years of performing and trial and error. Like, okay, this person really wants to be part of the show. Do I really want to bring on stage? Are they going to be good? Are they going to be good entertainment for the rest of the crowd? Or if I bring them on stage, are they going to cause issues and kind of push my show in a different direction that like I don't want it to go?
Do you kind of case the joint before the show, like and look and see like what the people are and maybe like their body posture?
Actually, that's usually when I do a lot of corporate shows, I'm usually performing either cocktail hour, people are coming in from business meetings during the day or after dinner entertainment. And if I'm doing after dinner entertainment, I'm like in the back of the room. I'm looking at the people in the crowd, seeing how they're reacting. Like, oh, that person at table 5 is not good to use. At table 2 seems like she's really into being center of attention, and she's really lively. I think she'll make a good spectator. So yeah, I'm definitely reading the room and trying to find people that I can use later on stage.
That's what we do as comedians too. Sometimes is we we have to read the room as far and adjust our jokes in a particular way because we don't know what their politics are or what might offend them or whatever, or what clean comedy versus like maybe more adult comedy. That's super interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean,
Hold on. So you were gonna say,
Yeah, I was gonna say like one of the most common requests I get when I do a lot of corporate shows from HR people is like, is your show clean? Are you going to offend anybody? Are you going to make anyone feel uncomfortable? And I always say, no, my show is pretty clean. And, the nature is like somebody can read your mind. People get really intimidated because if you really think about it, Joe, right now in the age we're living in, that's really the only privacy that's left.
Yeah,
right?
Your mind.
It's like your mind, what's in your head. And sooner or later, companies and people are going to try to use technology to get inside your head and figure out what you're thinking, which I hope they never do because
they already are, right? I mean, they kind of are
in a way, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, well, if we're gonna hire you, like, we don't want you to embarrass our VIP clients or our vice president or president. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. So I gotta always put them at ease because the nature of what I do, just by definition, can make some people uncomfortable. And people are like, oh, do you talk to the dead? I'm like, I don't talk to the dead. I don't do any of that stuff. So, I was constantly explaining to them what it is I do. Because even though they've seen videos and I describe it, until they really experience it, they're like, okay, I got you. I'm like, I basically describe it as I play games with your own thoughts. I entertain you with your own thoughts. that's kind of the best way I've kind of described it over the years.
Do you find that as you get older, if you come across younger people, do you find that maybe it's harder to judge, like personalities they're thinking of or things, that are in their generation? Do you tailor your show towards?
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Let me see. Let me show you something really quick. Explain to you why this is that different generations mean different things.
Yeah.
So can you see my watch?
Yes.
I know this is time right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to think of a time.
Okay.
Don't say, just think of a time. I'm going to set my watch to a time. All right. Let's go back. All right. I'm going to hold it right here.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to look at me
and
just, when I count to 3, name a time.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
3:15.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
It was the first thing that came into my head. And then I tried to get clever with it, and I was like, no, let's go with the first thing.
Okay, 3:15. So I'm going to take the watch away from your sight. I'm going to turn it around.
What the? No.
Right. Okay.
No way.
Let me explain to you this based on your question. So when I do this to younger crowds, in their 20s, quite frequently I get people who's like, I can't read what time that is.
Yeah. Oh, right. They can't read a clock like that.
They can't read a clock. So what I do to older people are our age older, they're like, yeah, this whatever, it's 10:10, 12:50, whatever. They don't know how to read a clock. So I had to learn that the hard way when I was doing a show, 300 people, and I did this demonstration on stage.
Yeah.
I'm like, take my watch off, like think of a time, or someone set to a time, name a time, they're like, 4:15. I'm like, look at the time, and the person on stage was like 23. He's like, I can't read that. I don't know how to read it. So I was like shocked, a little bit angry, but shocked.
Startling.
I was like, yeah. So then I had to change my approach. So like, okay, if I'm gonna do that again, I need to pick somebody that may not happen to. So I'm gonna pick somebody who's a little bit older.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certain things where I tell people to think of certain things. Think of a certain celebrity. Mm-hmm. Younger people are going to go for people that are from their genre, and then for people for our generation, you're going to go people from movies that they grew up with, or seen, or places they want to visit. Like one year I was doing an event, and like I'm like, think of a place that you want to visit, and a lot of young people were saying a certain place in Mexico that I never heard of.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And then I've never heard of it. But if I tell people to think of a place you want to visit, most people are gonna be like, okay, Fiji, Hawaii, Paris, Thailand, or whatever. So everyone's demographic wise and older wise takes a little bit different answers. So you got to keep that in mind when you're performing it and who you're performing for.
Do you try to keep up on younger people's media? Because obviously, like maybe the place that they want to go in Mexico might be featured in some show they watch.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's always like I try to keep up what's going on, but it's like kind of like old man on get off my lawn, guy. Like
lawn guy.
Everything changes all the time with social media. What's what's not, but
yeah,
I try to understand like what the latest music is, whatever. Like I did an event 2 weeks ago for a bunch of doctors, and they were doctors from all over the country, but they were from a certain part of the world, but they all like live in the US or from Asia. And like everyone think of a celebrity that you want to meet, and like 2 of them wrote celebrities I've never heard of, but everyone knew who they were. I'm like, who are these people? They're like, oh, they're huge in Asia, they're huge in Hong Kong and in India. I'm like, I've never heard of this person. So that threw me for a loop. Yeah. So, but you never know what's going to happen or what to expect, when you're performing this stuff, because it's people, think differently and react differently.
Yeah, totally. Now you perform with your brother.
Yeah. So
tell us about that.
Yeah. So I have a twin. I like to hashtag that we're the worst twins ever.
The worst twins ever.
We're not like the closest.
Yeah.
More of a business relationship, but we both perform together. But lately I've been performing more solo shows, but when we perform together, we do our twin mind reading act. That is unique. I don't know any other sets of twins out there that are doing it.
Yeah.
And it has a built-in peak, a built-in interest. If you're a twin, if you know anybody who's twins, you know that twins have similar similarities, they think alike, and so we play off that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I perform with my twin. Um, you know, uh, I performed with him a lot with him the last, decade. The last few years, I haven't because he's had some other outside different business interests and stuff that he's pursuing. So,
Yeah.
but I perform also with myself, but I perform with my twin. And
Did he get into it because you got into it, or what?
we
How
both
the
got
heck?
into it at the same time. Like I said, exact same thing.
Exact same. Wow, because you guys are twins.
Yeah, we both got interested in what David Blaine was doing.
Yeah.
We learned it. We were like mentored by the same person. He went to college at UC Riverside. I went to college at UC Davis. So we kind of split apart during our college years, but all at the same time we shared information. So everyone who knows me knows my twin. Everyone who knows my twin knows me. So yeah, so it's a unique thing. We perform together and we perform solo. We've had some interesting, performing stories where, performing together, interesting things have happened to us. That
Like what?
that one thing. So there's a portion of our show that like we do like question and answers where people think of questions about their life and we try to answer them. And then we're doing a show one time and this young lady was like thinking of her grandma and she was really like upset about it. We're like, you're thinking of your grandma and she's really important to you and her name is Mary or whatever. And then literally like on stage her phone rings and her mom's like, grandma just passed away. Like, and she like ran out of the room crying. And like to this day, like she thinks like we're legit like supernatural powers because it just like happened to be like the weirdest coincidence timing. So, the weird experiences that you have when you play with people's heads. But over the years we kind of realized that like everyone has the same questions or concerns when it comes to life. It all fits in a couple of categories: family, health, finance, career, kids. So you kind of can anticipate what someone's gonna think of or what kind of questions they're gonna lead with because if you do it over and over again. So that was just a weird experience that in the middle of a show that she ran out of the room crying and grandma had just passed away as soon as we told her what her grandma was on her mind and what her name was. So that was an interesting experience.
Do you ever have the same thoughts as your brother? I have a friend who has a dad who has a twin brother.
Yeah. Well, basically, my twin and I really communicate like verbally. Like our parents always thought like we were mutes as a kid, but like we could be in the same room and look at each other and know what each other's thinking. Like it's like my wife tells me that me and my twin are weird. His girlfriend tells my wife that like they don't talk, but we communicate. Like we took a 6-hour road trip once to San Jose, didn't say a word for the whole time, but we knew what each other was thinking. Like when it was time to eat, he pulled over, when it was time to stay at the hotel and stop driving, we stayed. So it was like we knew what to tell each other mentally because it was just a connection. It's like that's why we call it TSP, twin sensory perception.
Yeah.
It's like ESP. I think all twins have some type of TSP that it's just you're born with if you're a twin. So we have a unique relationship where some twins are like attached at the hip. They can't be apart, and we're not like that. We have some very similar interests and friends, but our personalities are a little bit different, especially on stage. And that's actually going back to your initial thing you mentioned, the MTV thing. That was like 20 years ago when I was in college. MTV was a documentary on twins, and they did a nationwide search. And we were selected as one of 3 sets of twins who they picked, and they still selected us because of this mentalism thing. And they were basically, when we were 20, it was like very early 2021, chronicling our lives in college and pursuing this. So it was literally 20 years ago, 2004, that it aired.
Is there a clip of that on your YouTube channel? You should put that on.
No, because there's no way I can find a clip. MTV
Really?
gave us copy of it, and I moved years ago and I lost the copy.
Oh
And
no.
it was basically called MTV True Life series. If you ever seen the True
Okay.
Life series at MTV, it was, I don't know if it's still on MTV, but it was one of the longest reality show series that started in 1998, and it was MTV True Life, and each episode was different. True Life, I'm
Yeah.
get married, true life, I'm having financial issues, whatever topic that were basically relatable to the younger generations at that time. And most of them were kind of weird and interesting and depressing topics. But
Yeah.
this one, they were like, true life, I'm a twin. So they selected us and then two other girls that were at the time were like 14 or 13 that were really attached at the hip, that were trying to find twin boyfriends. So they went to a festival in Ohio that they have every year in Twinsburg, Ohio.
Yeah.
It's the
Twinsburg.
largest twin festival in the world, I think. And
Yeah.
twins go there. So these girls went there to find twin boyfriends. And then the other set of twins that they interviewed were two twin college people, college kids, two guys like me and my brother who were at the UC Santa Barbara, who were basically really close and couldn't stand to be apart and had trouble like adjusting, being apart. So that was them, and then there was us, two twin people, two twins from, uh, you know, uh, Iran, coming over to U.S. as immigrants trying to pursue, this mind reading thing. So that was our hook that became interested in. So it was an interesting experience. Like Andy Warhol said, everyone gets their 50 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
That was 50 minutes of fame. We did it when I was 2021. And I've looked for the footage online. I looked for the MTV website. They have other episodes that just don't air ours. I think because it's so old that they just don't have a copy of it. I'm sure if I call MTV headquarters,
Yeah. Maybe that'd be a good way to
they'll
go.
give me a copy of it. But
These
I
things
mean,
like pop up too on. You always search for it because things pop up when you
yeah, it does
have given
pop
up looking for it.
Yeah, it does pop. Funny thing is, like back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, like I would get random phone calls of people calling me, like your girls, and laughing and hanging up. And I'm like, oh, it must be my MTV thing aired because they showed my phone number on the clip.
He showed your phone number.
Yeah, like on my business card for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
People call, like, usually would be girls, like, is this Adrian? I'm like, yes, can I help you? And they were laughing, hanging up, like, oh, it must be my MTV thing aired.
That's so cool. That's funny. You haven't got any of those calls in years. Yeah. You got to call them back and be like, where did you see it? Did you record it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's great. Are your friends like, stop reading my mind? Or your wife maybe is like,
No,
quit reading my
I mean,
mind. What are you doing?
no, my wife says I'm very like, that's not, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but like very manipulative by nature. And I think I kind of have to be a mentalist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I think, my wife, if you talk to her, she probably said that was what kind of intrigued her about me at first, because
Yeah.
we would go on dates and she's like, it's not gonna work out. You're not my type. You're not my type. And I kind of was very persistent, and I stuck with it. And long story short, we're married now. I have a 3-year-old daughter. 10 years later. But
Wow.
my friends, really, no, I don't really perform for my friends regularly. I kind of only perform when I'm meeting new people who haven't maybe not heard about it, or I'm performing at an event. But I'm not always on. But I'm not always on in performing mode. But I'm
Yeah.
always like, when I'm out in public though, like in everyday settings, I'm always looking at my environment. I'm always kind of reading people. I don't know if from a safety issue or just because it's the way I am. I'm like, if I walk into a grocery store, walk into a restaurant, I'm like, who's here? Who's by the door? Are they acting weird? Who's that guy that walked in with a backpack? Does he look funny? Is he acting funny? So I'm kind of, in a way, profiling people. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's just the way my mind works. And just
Yeah. Well, you're like almost like a detective. You'd make a great detective or a security guard, or like there's a lot of people that you could, a lot of those skills come in handy for a lot of things.
Yeah, there is. Like I have a friend in Vegas. You may have heard of him. His name is Colin Cloud. He has a show on. He was a finalist on AGT, and now he has a show at Harrah's, and he's one of the best mentalists in the world. And he basically has his whole show based around that. He's like a modern Sherlock Holmes. So he bases his show around, like, I'm a modern Sherlock Holmes. I'm watching you from the very start, reading you, and that's how I'm figuring out how to get inside your head. So he's one of the best in the world, and he's taken to another level. So if you're ever in Vegas and you want to see one of the best mentalists in the world. His show here is definitely out there.
Wow. Do you can you tell if people are lying?
Yes and no. Like, there's no exact proof to find out if somebody's lying. Like, that's a skill everybody wants to know. There's
Yeah.
techniques that you can do, but it's not 100%. I've read so many books on it. I've interviewed people who talk to people who do it for a living, but I have routines that I do on stage. But when you tell when some people is lying, it's not 100% like foolproof method. It's like you can't be on 100% and get it right exactly, but you can look for certain cues and certain techniques that research has shown that they may be tend to be lying or not. Especially if you have somebody think of something that's important to them that they don't want revealed, they tend to give off more nonverbal and verbal cues off that.
Mhm.
But no, I don't think there's a 100% bulletproof method like this person lying or not. There's certain techniques that people in the FBI or people in law enforcement have learned, and I read books on it and what to look for. But I can be lied to, you can be lied to, everyone could be lied to. So it's not, like, I wish it was like being a Jedi. You can just wave your hand and be like, you know,
Yeah.
you'll do this now or tell me the truth. It doesn't work that way.
And I'm sure people are always asking you to tell them what stocks to pick.
Yeah, people are always asking me to predict stuff, especially sports, because I'm a sports fan. Like, who's gonna win the
You are.
Super Bowl? Who's gonna, what's the parlay on then this? Who's gonna win in this event? The funny thing is, like, actually, when I was in college, my senior year, I did a publicity stunt where I was like, I'll predict the Super Bowl this year, and if I get it wrong, I'll pay the school $1,000. So I was on the front page of the school paper and in the paper at Davis, and it's like 2006, and got a lot of press about it. And I was right. I got a prediction right.
You were right?
Yeah, I was right.
Wow.
But I got a lot of angry hate form mail about it because people were like, this is unethical and, like, whatever. And I'm like, look, I'm an entertainer. Take that in mind. I'm
Yeah.
not claiming anything. I'm an entertainer. This is part of my job is to create publicity.
Yeah.
So I think, there's something unethical about this, or I have psychic powers, and you're reading into this way too much. But it was interesting because I got a lot of negative and good press about it. A lot of people were just like, how did you do it? Or try to figure out how I did it. I'm like, I don't care if you try to figure out how I did it. I'm not claiming anything. I'm not claiming I have psychic supernatural powers. I'm just, had an idea and I did it, and it worked. So let's move on. But
That is
that was an
awesome.
interesting experience that I learned a lot from in terms of dealing with people and journalists and the press, and just, when you do something like that.
Did you always think that you were going to do this as a career?
I've always done it as a career. Like, when I was younger, I wanted to, do it more and more. But then as I got older, I try to limit my travel. And now that I have a kid, I don't want to travel as much. But like when I was younger, like, well, I'm not married or whatever, I could do college shows and travel a lot. But so I run this business, but I also run another business that's not completely,
Yeah.
related to entertainment. So I use my skills as a mentalist, where I started a marketing agency where I work as a consultant for companies in the finance industry, working as a marketing consultant, which actually has been beneficial because a lot of my clients are in the finance space. So I do a lot of events for clients, like you mentioned in my promo, like
Yeah.
JP Morgan Chase, Fidelity, Pacific Life. So those people who I work with on that area, they find out that I do this, and it's just a natural transition. They're like, oh, you do this? Show me something. And I show it to them, and they go, okay, you got to show our CEO this, or you got to show our vice president this. And I show them, and okay, now we got to have you at our event. So a lot of my clients have become my clients, or because I'm consulting with them on a marketing project, but then they find out what I do, and they just naturally hire me for their events. So
Yeah.
it's kind of worked out.
And what is a corporate event exactly? Like, why do they have these events? How do they, is it like a retreat or something?
So right now with the holiday season, corporate events, I have a lot of events coming up in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
And corporate events it's a generic broad term.
Yeah.
It can could be trade shows, it could be hospitality suites, it could be retreats, sales meetings, award galas. So a lot of the events that I do are kind of like events that are done like at a big hotel or a resort. Like a company's bringing in their entire sales team for a sales banquet, or sometimes as small as 10 people. They're bringing 10 to 15 people. They're bringing their senior executive team to the Ritz Carlton for a week of meetings, and they're going to have dinner afterwards, and they want some entertainment. So I go in, and if there's like 300-400 people, I would, do like a cocktail hour. I'm walking around. I walk up to people. Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm the entertainment. I'm a mentalist. Can I show you something? And people are like, what the, what does that mean? Or some people are like, oh yes, I know what that is. Please show me something. So you get different reactions. And other times, like, they're having a event where it's like, 100 plus people at a resort, and they're having awards and speeches, and they have dinner, and then I'm going on after dinner, before the speeches and awards, for 30-40 minutes, and performing my stage show. So there's, like I said, corporate events is a generic term. There's different events. There's like coming up right now, we have holiday events. January we have sales kickoff meetings for the new year. And then there's like trade show events, hospitality suites, retreats are very popular in the spring and summertime. So
cool. Were you ever shy about coming up to people and doing mentalism tricks? Yeah.
So that's a very good question. When I was a kid, I had a really bad stuttering problem. Like really bad. Like I was the kid in the corner in the back seat where I was like in sweatshirt, like, please don't call on me, please don't call on me. I don't want to read in front of read in front of the class or stand up and give a presentation. I mean, it was really bad. It was like my parents, my mom was like, I had probably had the issue because I wouldn't talk. And it's a very interesting because a lot of people, my colleagues are in this field, had very similar stories.
Really? Wow.
Like I went to mute. I don't like being center of attention. I didn't want to be in front of people, and now they're like getting on stages and doing shows for 5,000 people. And I think the reason for that is a lot of them like discovered magic, and that used it as an outlet to get out of their shell. But yeah, even to this day, they're like, okay, how do I approach this group? Because if I'm doing a walk around, I'm interrupting a conversation somebody's having. So I'm like, how do I interrupt this conversation where I don't come off as a jerk, or make sure that, come off in a way that, to want to see something and not be like, hey, get lost. Yeah. So there's always there's an approach to it that you just learn over time. But, I would say most people have a fear of public speaking in front of people. I think over time, I've just not had that fear anymore. If you could put me in a room with 5,000 people or 1,000 people and, on stage or walk around, and I can feel like I'm comfortable there now than I was when I was like 15 or 16 or 17. And I'm sure, you can relate to it as well as your friends. If you're a comic, if you feed off that energy from the audience. And, but it's something that I learned over time because I wasn't always like that. It's a very common thing for entertainers. Like I've heard Johnny Carson back in the day would get really, wanted to throw up every time before he went on stage, and you would never think that. So it's something that, as you perform more and you just get comfortable around people, it tends to go away, and you just develop a better skill set for it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times it's just doing it. But you got to go through that period of a really uncomfortable period where you're like, that's great though. It's good for people to know that though, because sometimes people think that they don't have the ability to do something because, when they start doing it, they don't feel super confident.
Yeah. There's never a perfect time to wait to do something until it's perfect. I've learned that throughout the years. Like if you're going to do something, do it. Like for example, when I was starting out trying to perform, or like I'm too young to do corporate events. Nobody's going to hire a 23-year-old, 22-year-old do what I do. It's like, you just got to get the mindset out of it, or I'm not ready to do this, or I'm not ready to go after this market or after this clientele because I don't feel like I'm good enough. And you just have to remember that no matter what you do, or no matter, whether you're Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or whatever, everybody started out and just did it and learn and failed and get up and do it again. There's no perfect time. There's never a perfect time to start something. You just have to do it.
Where did you learn that tenacity? Was that from your mentor, or who taught you to to overcome those feelings, those thoughts, those?
I think no. I think it was just like. I think it was just I was just the way I am. Maybe going back to my childhood. So I was born in Iran, as I mentioned. I
Yeah.
lived there in the 80s, and I grew up during the Iran-Iraq War for like the first 6 years of my life. And if you grow up in that environment, your mindset's all about survival.
Mm-hmm.
So because you're living in a war zone. So
Yeah.
when I came to the U.S., my parents, I think my subconscious or my mind has always been in survival mode. So it's kind of like, if it doesn't work, just try it again, do it again, do it again. And then just, getting accumulated with US culture, watching movies like the Rocky movies and sports movies and just learning, the American culture through sports and being a kid, like having my, childhood heroes be sports athletes or sports figures who were constantly beat up, but they got back up and they finally, achieved what they wanted to achieve. Kind of, I guess, basically put that mindset in me. I think if you would ask me what's my number one strength,
Mm-hmm.
is my persistence. I think that's like, if you ask my wife, that's probably the reason why she married me, because like I just wouldn't go away. She's just like, fine, I'll finally date you. It's fine. So I think that's kind of like the number one skill is like persistence.
It's a big skill to have. It's a big skill to have.
Like, so many people just after a while quit.
Yeah.
Especially like when you quit when you may be like really close to achieving what you want to achieve. So, yeah, I think I've always had that skill, but I think performing maybe brought it out a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you take on a persona, do you think, when you perform? Like that's
Yeah.
different from you? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why my real name is Adrian Saint. Adrian is my stage name, and when people who see me perform, they're like, "You look a different person when you perform than you're on stage." Like on you can be quiet and shy.
Yeah.
On stage, you could be very commanding and in control. Confident. And I guess that's kind of why I created that persona in college. Because I wanted to be somebody else other than me. And there's a whole discussion between performers, like, should you create an on-stage persona compared to who you are? Some
Yeah.
people say no. It's like, which came first, chicken or the egg kind of question. For me, I kind of wanted to separate it. I feel like I felt more comfortable. Like I need to be a different person that I'm on stage performing than I am in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just worked better for me because I've had people see me on stage or former colleagues. They're like, "You're not the same person
Yeah.
that we see every day when you're performing. You're a completely different person." I'm like, yeah, because what I'm doing on stage, one, I like it, I love it, and two, you have to be in a different mental mindset to perform what I do. Because after performing like a full 45 plus minute corporate show, I'm exhausted.
Oh yeah.
There's so much stuff going through my head of what I need to do and remember and directions and language that I'm just like exhausted. I can't do anything afterwards. So that's why I created the persona for stage compared to my everyday life.
So cool. Can you, we're running out of time, but could you give us another taste of your mentalism? Is it?
Yeah. Let's try something.
Okay.
Let's try this. I'm gonna do some piece of paper. Can you see that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Paper, Sharpie.
Yeah.
All right. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
I just want to see what you think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So think of a number between 1 and 50.
Okay.
Use odd digits, but different digits for each number. So
Okay.
It can't be 11 or 33.
Okay. Yeah.
You got it?
Yep.
Yeah. What number are you thinking of?
37. What the?
Yeah. So that's good. So that
No way.
so
No
that
way.
shows me kind of how you think. Like I said, there was no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But you got it. So let's do a little something different. All right. This time I want to give you a kind of a freer range.
Okay.
So this time, think of a number between 1 and 100.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since you got 37, I made an assumption what I think you would say.
Oh, really? And does it have the same rules as the last time?
Nope. 1 through 100. You can pick any number between 1 through 100.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What number?
55.
Why?
Because that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Any significance to it?
Well, I might be. What? You did not do that. You did not do that. I can't even believe that. What?
So that's like one thing that I do when I'm warming up with people. Like if I'm doing walk around, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm testing to see what number you're gonna get, and I don't always get it right. I'm not gonna lie, I don't always get it right.
God, that's incredible.
I make an assumption based on what number you say this. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do this. The most common numbers, like for example, when I say if I tell a female to think of a playing card and I don't give her a chance to think and I limit it,
Yeah.
go think of a card really quick. They're gonna say Queen of Hearts or Queen of Diamonds.
Yeah.
That's the way it
Really? It's just the way it goes.
represents love.
Todd Lee had the same number.
So, and then if I tell a male to think of a playing card, they're gonna go Ace of Spades or Jack of Spades because those cards represent like strength and power and masculinity. The deck of cards. If I tell somebody to think of a number between 1 and 100, some of the most common answers that I've gotten over the years, I have an Excel sheet that I keep track of.
Yeah.
I come home and I log the numbers. Is 23.
Yeah.
Or to pick 13 or to pick 69. So I go, don't pick 69, don't pick 13. But
Yeah.
most about 23. And why? Because they think of Michael Jordan. That number.
Really? God, that's incredible. That is incredible.
Let me show you-
Thanks so
let me
much
show
for
you.
demonstrating that. Yeah.
Yeah, let me get time for one more.
Yeah.
Remember one more. So here, I got this. Can you see this envelope?
Yes.
Keep it in my hand like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can take it out.
Okay.
Hold you the whole time.
Okay.
All right. Imagine in front of you, Joe. In front of you, you have 3 coins, 3 U.S. coins.
Okay.
There's a dime in front of you, a nickel, and a quarter.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna assume you're right-handed.
Yes.
Okay. With your right hand, when I count to 3, right in front of you, pick up one of the imaginary coins.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay. What'd you pick up?
Quarter.
Okay. With your left hand, pick up another coin. 1, 2, 3. What'd you pick up?
Nickel.
Okay. So what do you have left on the table?
A dime.
Dime. Okay, perfect. Toss those coins in your hand over your shoulder. Okay, you're gonna pick up the dime.
Okay.
Okay, and you're gonna toss it in the air.
Okay.
And it's gonna land on your table. And you tell me, did it land heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails. Are you sure?
Yes. That's crazy. You're crazy. This is great.
So yeah, so this is like me influencing you in psychology a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like one of the routines.
So interesting. I mean, God, I'm just, I'm fascinated by this. And it's also amazing because you have developed this over time, and it's more than just a trick. It's like it's a knowledge of humans.
Yeah, it's a keen insight into human behavior. Actually, funny things, like I've done a couple like events throughout the years for politicians.
Yeah.
And it was like, come work for my campaign. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Because you understand how to manipulate people and how to basically get inside their head. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna use it. I'm gonna use it for entertainment.
Use it for good. You're a Jedi master. Use it for
it's
good.
Like the same. It's like the same technique. Some of it that they use in politics, but I just use it for entertainment.
Wow. Well, we're gonna have to end the show, but thank you so much for being on the show, Adrian. This has been an incredible treat. Incredible treat. At the end of the show, we play a cover song, And then we go out on that. So, and we thank everybody who watched the show. Thanks to everyone who watched the show. And yeah, so here we go. We're going to dance it out. It's just a little cover song here from Carol Mack. I actually found this song because I was thinking of the song Dreamweaver from way, way, way back in 1972 or something. And this is another song by Gary Wright, who also sang that. Do you know this song, Adrian?
I do not. I know it's called Dreamweaver.
Yeah, this one's before your time, I think. All right, that's Carol Mack. Love is Alive. Go to her YouTube channel. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks Adrian again.
Thank you.
And
My pleasure.
say hi to your family and your brother and everybody. And we'll see you another time on Lunch Therapy.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great night.